Welcome to my channel. What if your next shopping trip could change the way you speak English forever? Imagine walking into a store feeling nervous, then walking out feeling proud because, for the first time, you spoke English without fear. Most learners wait for perfect grammar or perfect confidence. But confidence does not arrive before practice. It is created by practice. Today, we are turning an ordinary shopping trip into a powerful English lesson, and by the end, you may never look at a supermarket, market, mall, or online store in the same way again. Our story begins with a young learner named Daniel. Daniel had studied English for years. He knew many words, understood grammar rules, and watched English videos every evening. Yet, whenever someone spoke to him, his mind suddenly became quiet. He knew the answer, but he could not say it. One Saturday morning, Daniel went to a local supermarket with a simple list: bread, milk, apples, and a notebook. He thought it would be an ordinary trip. He was wrong. Turning point one came when Daniel entered the store and decided not to translate everything in his head. Instead, he looked around and named what he saw: door, basket, shelf, bottle, bread, fruit, cashier. For the first time, English was not inside a textbook. It was around him. He smiled because the words felt alive. Then came turning point two. Daniel picked up a packet of milk and quietly said, "This is fresh milk. I need one bottle." The sentence was tiny, but something changed inside him. He realized he did not need complicated English to begin speaking. He only needed useful English. As he walked toward the fruit section, he saw a price tag and faced turning point three. Normally, he would stay silent, but this time he asked, "Excuse me, how much are these apples?" His voice was soft and shaky. The assistant answered, 300 rupees per kilo. Daniel understood. He had asked a real question and received a real answer. Nothing terrible happened. Nobody laughed. His fear became smaller. Turning point four arrived when Daniel wanted a different notebook. He asked, "Do you have a smaller one, please?" The assistant showed him two choices. Daniel compared them and said, "This one is cheaper, but that one is bigger." He suddenly understood something important. Shopping could teach him comparison, description, questions, numbers, and polite conversation at the same time. Turning point five happened at the checkout. The cashier said, "Your total is 800 rupees. Cash or card?" Daniel answered, "Card, please." "Can I have the receipt?" He walked away, feeling different. The English he had feared was becoming part of his daily life. That evening, Daniel wrote 5 sentences about his trip. He wrote what he bought, what he asked, what he heard, and how he felt. Turning point 6 came when he noticed that writing about a real experience was easier than writing random sentences from a grammar book. He decided to repeat the method every time he went outside. The next week, he returned to the same store. This time, he created a challenge: speak at least 3 English sentences. Turning point 7 arrived when he asked about a discount. "Is there any discount on this shirt?" The shopkeeper replied, "Yes, there is a 10% discount." Daniel thanked him and felt a small victory. It was not a perfect conversation, but it was his conversation. Then Daniel made a mistake. He used the wrong word while asking about size. The shopkeeper looked confused. Turning point 8 could have ended his progress, but Daniel simply repeated himself more slowly. "Do you have a larger size?" This time, the message was clear. Daniel discovered that mistakes were not walls, they were bridges. Each mistake showed him what to practice next. From that day, he stopped asking, "How can I speak perfect English?" and started asking, "What can I say today?" That question changed everything. He began noticing English on signs, labels, receipts, product descriptions, and shopping apps. He learned words like price, discount, quantity, receipt, exchange, return, delivery, warranty, and refund. But he did not memorize them like a list. He used them in real sentences. He said, "What is the price? Can I return this? When is the delivery? Is there a warranty?" His vocabulary became active because his life gave each word a purpose. And then, Just when Daniel thought he had finally conquered his fear, something unexpected happened. A customer heard Daniel and asked where he learned English. Daniel smiled. I am learning. I practice when I can. Customer nodded. Keep going. Your confidence will grow. Daniel thanked him. That became turning point 9. He understood progress was not about becoming someone else, but becoming brave to use his skills now. The following Saturday, Daniel decided to make the challenge harder. He would not simply name products or ask prices, he would have short conversations. Before leaving home, he stood in front of the mirror and practiced 3 sentences. Excuse me, could you help me? Do you have this in another color? I will take this one, please. He repeated them slowly until they felt comfortable. When he reached the clothing store, turning point 10 arrived. A shop assistant asked, Can I help you? Daniel almost said no, but stopped himself. He remembered his goal and replied, Yes, please. I am looking for a simple blue shirt for daily use. The assistant showed him several shirts. Daniel touched the fabric and asked, Is this comfortable? The assistant explained the material. Daniel listened carefully, and for the first time, he was not thinking about every grammar rule. He was simply communicating. That small conversation gave him a new kind of confidence. He realized that speaking English was not a test. It was a connection between 2 people. After choosing a shirt, Daniel noticed something else. He had spent months learning words but had rarely practiced listening, so he began paying attention to replies. Turning point 11 came when he stopped trying to understand every single word. Instead, he listened for the main meaning. When the assistant said, This one is available in medium, but the large size is out of stock, Daniel understood enough to make a decision. He replied, Medium is fine. Can I try it? This was a huge step. Before, one unfamiliar word would make him panic. Now, he could continue even when he did not understand everything. Daniel took his English practice into other parts of shopping. At the grocery store, he practiced quantity. I need 1 kilo of rice. Please give me 6 apples. I would like 2 bottles of water. At the electronics shop, he practiced product questions. Does this phone have a warranty? How long does the battery last? Can I see another model? At the shoe store, he practiced descriptions. I am looking for comfortable black shoes. Do you have a larger size? Each place became a different lesson. He no longer waited for English practice to appear. He created it himself. One evening, Daniel decided to try online shopping in English. He opened a shopping app and refused to change the language. He read words such as add to cart, buy now, delivery date, return item, refund, and out of stock. Turning point 12 came when Daniel realized that English was not only a school subject, it was already part of the world around him. He had been surrounded by English every day without noticing it. He began reading product descriptions aloud. This bag is lightweight and strong. It has 3 pockets. Delivery is available tomorrow. Then he compared 2 products. This one is cheaper, but that one has better reviews. He was practicing vocabulary, reading, pronunciation, comparison, and decision-making without opening a grammar book. But Daniel still had one problem. He often felt embarrassed when other people heard his English. One afternoon, while buying a jacket, he made a pronunciation mistake. A young customer nearby smiled. Daniel felt his old fear return. For a moment, he wanted to leave. Turning point 13 came when he remembered why he had started. He was not learning English to impress strangers. He was learning English to communicate, grow, travel, work, and become more confident. So, he took a breath and continued. He corrected the word and finished his conversation. The smile no longer controlled him. That night, Daniel wrote a sentence on a piece of paper. I would rather make a small mistake today than carry a big fear tomorrow. He placed it beside his desk. From then on, he used mistakes as lessons instead of reasons to stop. He created a simple daily routine. Before shopping, he prepared 5 useful sentences. During shopping, he used at least 3. After shopping, he wrote 5 sentences about what happened. Sometimes he described the products he bought. Sometimes he described the people he spoke with. Sometimes he wrote about his feelings. Today I felt nervous, but I spoke anyway. I asked for a discount. I understood the cashier. I bought a black shirt. I paid by card. These sentences look simple, but they were building something much bigger: confidence. Weeks passed, and Daniel noticed that his mind was changing. He started thinking in English while walking through stores. He saw a red bag and thought, that bag is too expensive. He saw fresh fruit and thought, I need some apples. He stood at the checkout and thought, I am ready to pay. Turning point 14 arrived when Daniel traveled to another city and entered a busy shopping mall alone. In the past, such a place would have frightened him. There were signs everywhere, unfamiliar products, and many people speaking quickly. But Daniel walked inside calmly. He asked for directions, compared prices, requested a different size, and paid at the counter. He made a few mistakes, but he kept communicating. When he left the mall, he realized something powerful. The biggest change was not in his English. The biggest change was in him. He was no longer waiting to feel confident before speaking. He was speaking, and confidence was following. Months earlier, Daniel believed English confidence belonged to naturally talented people. Now, he knew better. Confidence belonged to people who practiced even when they felt uncomfortable. He remembered his first supermarket visit when one simple question had felt like a mountain. Now he could have several conversations without fear. Then came the final turning point. Daniel returned to the first supermarket where his journey had started. He stood near the fruit section and looked at the same apples. A new English learner was standing nearby, holding a shopping list and looking nervous. The learner quietly practiced, how much is this? Daniel recognized that fear immediately because he had once carried it himself. He smiled and said, you can ask. It is okay to make mistakes. The learner looked surprised and asked, really? Daniel nodded. Yes, I started with one question too. At that moment, Daniel understood the greatest lesson of all. Learning English was not only about improving his own life, it could help him encourage someone else. He had started as a nervous learner, but now he had become an example for another beginner. And that is where our lesson becomes your story. You do not need a perfect accent. You do not need thousands of difficult words. You do not need to wait until your grammar is perfect. Start with the world around you. Name the products. Ask the price. Describe what you need. Listen to the answer. Speak politely. Read the labels. Practice online. Write about your shopping trip. One sentence today can become a conversation tomorrow. One conversation can become confidence. And one confident learner can inspire another person to begin. So, the next time you walk into a shop, remember Daniel. Do not see only shelves, products, prices, and cashiers. See opportunities. Every question is practice. Every answer is listening practice. Every mistake is feedback. Every successful sentence is a small victory. Your English classroom does not always need four walls. Sometimes it has a shopping basket in your hand, a receipt in your pocket, and one brave sentence waiting to be spoken. By this point, Daniel had discovered something that many English learners never realize. Confidence does not appear suddenly one morning. It grows quietly through small actions repeated again and again. He continued using shopping as his daily English classroom, but he also began looking for new ways to challenge himself. One morning, he made a list of 10 items and decided that he would describe every item in English before putting it into his basket. He picked up bread and said, this bread is fresh and I need one loaf. Then he looked at some juice. This juice is affordable, but I prefer the orange flavor. He moved toward the vegetables and said, these tomatoes look fresh, but I need only half a kilo. The practice felt simple, almost like a game, but Daniel knew every sentence was making his speaking stronger. Soon, he noticed that he was using English without translating from his first language. That was another important step. He began to think directly in English. When he saw a long queue, he thought, the line is very long today. When he saw a sale sign, he thought, there is a discount on these products. When the cashier smiled, he thought, she is ready to help me. These thoughts were short, but they were training his brain to work faster. Then, one afternoon, something unexpected happened. Daniel was shopping with his younger cousin, who had recently started learning English. His cousin asked, "How do you know what to say?" Daniel smiled and answered, "I stopped waiting for perfect English. I started using simple English." His cousin wanted to practice too, so Daniel turned the shopping trip into a small challenge for both of them. They agreed that each person had to ask 3 questions in English before leaving the store. His cousin was nervous, but Daniel encouraged him. "Do not worry about mistakes, just speak." The first question was about the price of a backpack. The second was about color. The third was about size. His cousin completed all 3. When they left the store, he looked proud. Daniel recognized that feeling because he had felt it himself. He realized that helping someone else practice also made his own English stronger. Teaching simple English forced him to think clearly and speak slowly. From that day, Daniel began sharing useful shopping sentences with friends. He taught them phrases such as, "How much is this? Do you have another size? Could you help me, please? Is there any discount? Can I pay by card? Can I have the receipt?" He explained that these sentences were valuable because they were connected to real situations. But Daniel also learned that shopping could teach more than vocabulary. It could teach patience. Sometimes a shopkeeper did not understand him immediately. Sometimes an item was unavailable. Sometimes the price was higher than expected. Sometimes a conversation moved too quickly. Instead of becoming frustrated, Daniel learned to slow down, repeat himself, and ask politely. He discovered that communication is not about saying everything perfectly. It is about helping another person understand your meaning. One day, Daniel walked into a crowded market during a busy evening. People were talking everywhere. Sellers were calling customers. Music was playing from nearby stores. At first, Daniel felt overwhelmed. Then, he remembered his practice. He took a breath and focused on one conversation at a time. He asked for the price of a jacket. The seller answered quickly. Daniel did not understand the full sentence, so he asked, "Sorry, could you say that again, please?" The seller repeated it slowly. Daniel understood. That moment became one of his proudest experiences because he had learned another powerful sentence. Asking someone to repeat themselves was not embarrassing. It was a communication skill. From then on, he added new phrases to his practice. "Could you speak a little slowly, please? Could you repeat that? What does this mean? Do you have another option?" These sentences gave him control when conversations became difficult. Daniel also began paying attention to product descriptions. He learned that one product could teach many words. A jacket could be waterproof, lightweight, warm, soft, or comfortable. A phone could have a large screen, strong battery, good camera, and fast charging. A bag could be durable, spacious, simple, or stylish. Instead of memorizing these words separately, Daniel connected each word to an object. This made them easier to remember. He created small mental stories. "I need a lightweight bag because I travel. I want comfortable shoes because I walk every day. I need a strong charger because I use my phone often." His English became more personal, and personal language was easier to remember. Another major change happened when Daniel began using English after shopping. Before, he would return home and forget the conversation. Now, he reviewed it. He asked himself, "What did I say? What did the other person say? Which word did I not understand? Which sentence could I say better next time?" Then he wrote 3 or 4 sentences. This simple review helped him notice patterns. He learned from real mistakes instead of imaginary ones. Sometimes he recorded himself speaking about his shopping trip. "Today I went to the market. I bought a shirt. The shirt was on sale. I asked for a larger size. The shopkeeper helped me. I paid by card." Then he listened to his recording. At first, he disliked hearing his own voice. His pronunciation sounded strange to him, but he kept practicing. After several weeks, he listened again and noticed improvement. His speech was clearer, his pauses were shorter, his sentences came faster. This gave him proof that practice worked. Daniel also discovered another useful method: comparing products in English. He would choose 2 items and describe the differences. This phone is cheaper, but the other phone has more storage. These shoes are lighter, but those shoes are stronger. This bag is smaller, while that bag has more space. This practice improved his speaking because he had to think, choose, and explain. It also taught him useful grammar naturally without forcing himself to memorize rules. He began using words such as cheaper, bigger, smaller, better, more comfortable, and more expensive. One evening, Daniel received an online delivery. The package was different from what he expected. Instead of getting frustrated, he saw another learning opportunity. He opened the shopping app and read the return instructions. He learned words like return request, refund, replacement, delivery status, and customer support. Then he practiced saying, I received the wrong item. I would like a replacement, please. This was a real problem, but it became real English practice. Daniel understood that life would constantly provide lessons if he was willing to notice them. Months later, his English had changed dramatically. Not because he had studied grammar all day, but because he had created hundreds of small opportunities to use English. He had asked questions, listened to answers, made mistakes, corrected himself, described products, compared prices, read labels, practiced online shopping, and talked with real people. His progress was not one giant jump. It was thousands of tiny steps. And that was the lesson he wanted every learner to understand. You do not need one perfect day to transform your English. You need many ordinary days used wisely. Your next shopping trip can be one of those days. You can enter a store with 5 sentences ready. You can name 10 objects. You can ask one question. You can listen carefully to one answer. You can describe one product. You can write 5 sentences when you return home. These actions may seem too small to matter, but small actions repeated often can completely change your confidence. Daniel had once believed that fluent speakers were people who never made mistakes. Now he knew that fluent speakers were often people who were comfortable continuing after mistakes. They did not stop every time they forgot a word. They found another way to explain. They did not panic when they heard something unfamiliar. They asked for repetition. They did not wait until they felt fearless. They spoke while feeling nervous. That was the real secret Daniel had discovered. English was not a mountain he had to climb in one day. It was a path he could walk every day, and every shopping trip could take him one step farther. The next morning, Daniel woke up with a simple thought: English is no longer something I study only when I have free time. English is something I can live. That thought changed the way he looked at ordinary moments. He started using English while preparing breakfast, walking outside, checking his phone, making a shopping list, and talking to family members. But shopping remained his favorite practice because it gave him a clear reason to speak. He knew what he wanted, he knew what questions to ask, and he could immediately see whether the other person understood him. One afternoon, Daniel decided to visit a large supermarket and challenge himself one final time. He would speak English from the moment he entered until the moment he paid. He walked through the doors and saw rows of products around him. Instead of feeling nervous, he smiled and began quietly describing what he saw. The fruit section is on the left, the drinks are on the right, the bread is near the entrance. The shelves are full today. He picked up a basket and continued. I need some apples, a bottle of milk, a packet of rice, and a new notebook. Then he noticed a special offer. He stopped and read the sign carefully. Buy 2, get 1 free. He had seen these words many times, but now he understood them naturally. He compared 2 products and said, This one is cheaper, but the other one looks better. Then he heard a customer asking for help. Daniel listened carefully and realized he understood almost everything. That moment made him remember his first shopping trip when even one simple question had made his heart beat faster. He felt proud, but he did not stop practicing. He wanted to see how far he could go. At the clothing section, he found a jacket he liked. He asked an assistant, Excuse me, could you help me please? I am looking for a medium size. Do you have this jacket in another color? The assistant replied, Yes, we have black and gray. Daniel said, Could I see the gray one, please? The assistant brought it. Daniel checked the jacket and asked, Is this waterproof? The assistant explained its features. Daniel listened, asked another question, and then thanked him. It was a normal conversation, but for Daniel, it represented a huge change. He was not translating every sentence. He was not worrying about every grammar rule. He was simply speaking. Then came another important moment. Daniel reached the checkout counter, but there was a problem. The card machine was not working. The cashier said something quickly, and Daniel did not understand. For a second, his old fear returned. But instead of becoming silent, he asked, "Sorry, could you please explain that again?" The cashier repeated the message slowly. Daniel understood that he needed to pay with cash. He smiled and said, "No problem. I will pay in cash." This became another powerful lesson. Real conversations are not always smooth. People speak quickly, problems happen. Sometimes you do not understand. But good communication means knowing what to do when something goes wrong. Daniel had learned how to ask for clarification, and that skill made him stronger. After paying, he asked for the receipt and checked the total. "Thank you. Have a nice day." As he walked outside, he realized that his shopping trip had become much more than shopping. It had become proof of his progress. He sat on a bench and opened his notebook. He wrote, "Today, I spoke English without waiting for perfect confidence. I asked questions. I listened. I made one mistake. I asked for help. I continued." Then he looked at those words for a few seconds. He understood that his biggest achievement was not vocabulary. It was courage. Daniel had once believed that he needed thousands of words before he could speak. Now he knew that a few useful words, used with confidence, could take him surprisingly far. He also understood that English learning should not feel like punishment. It could be part of normal life. You could learn while buying food. You could practice while choosing clothes. You could improve pronunciation while reading labels. You could learn new vocabulary while comparing products. You could practice listening while speaking to a cashier. You could improve writing by describing your shopping trip afterward. The possibilities were everywhere. Daniel decided to create a simple challenge for other learners. He called it the 5-sentence shopping challenge. Before going shopping, choose 5 sentences. During shopping, use them. After returning home, write 5 new sentences about what happened. For example, before leaving, you might prepare, "I am looking for a black shirt. Do you have a larger size? How much is this? Is there any discount? Can I pay by card?" Then use them naturally. You do not need to use all 5 if the situation does not allow it. Even one sentence is progress. The next time, try 2, then 3. Slowly, your fear becomes smaller because your experience becomes bigger. Daniel shared this method with his cousin, friends, and other learners. Some were afraid at first. One friend said, "My English is too weak." Daniel answered, "That is exactly why you should start with simple sentences." Another said, "I am afraid people will laugh." Daniel said, "Maybe someone will misunderstand you, but you can explain again." Your goal is not to impress everyone. Your goal is to communicate. Another friend said, "I do not have enough time to study English." Daniel smiled. Then do not wait for extra time. Use the time you already have. That became the final lesson of his journey. You do not need to create a completely new life to learn English. You can improve inside the life you already have. Your kitchen can teach you food words. Your bedroom can teach you daily routine words. Your workplace can teach you professional English. Your phone can teach you technology words. And your shopping trip can teach you practical communication. The secret is to notice these opportunities and use them. Daniel's story did not end when his English became better. In fact, that was when a new part of his story began. He started helping beginners who felt the same fear he once felt. Whenever someone said, "I cannot speak English," Daniel would ask, "Can you say one sentence?" Usually they could. Then he would ask for another. Soon they were speaking 5 or 10 sentences. He showed them that progress begins with something small enough to do today. He reminded them that nobody needs perfect English to begin. They only need a reason, a little courage, and regular practice. So now, my friend, this lesson becomes your challenge. The next time you go shopping, take English with you. Before you leave, choose 5 useful sentences. Look around and name the things you see. Ask about price, size, color, quality, quantity, or discount. Describe what you want. Listen carefully when someone answers. Use polite words like please, excuse me, and thank you. At the payment counter, ask for the bill or receipt. If you shop online, read the product description and practice words like delivery, return, refund, order, and discount. When you return home, write 5 sentences about your experience, then read them aloud. If you make a mistake, do not quit. Correct it and continue. If someone speaks too quickly, ask them to repeat. If you forget a word, explain the idea using simpler words. Remember, communication is more important than perfection. Your first English conversation may be short. That is okay. Your first sentence may sound nervous. That is okay too. Your pronunciation may not be perfect. Keep going. Every confident speaker once had a first sentence. Every fluent learner once made mistakes. Every strong voice once sounded uncertain. The difference is that they continued. So, do not wait for confidence to knock on your door. Build it with action. Do not wait until you know everything. Use what you know today. Do not wait for the perfect classroom. Your real world is already full of lessons. A supermarket shelf can teach you vocabulary. A price tag can teach you numbers. A shopkeeper can give you speaking practice. A receipt can teach you reading. A shopping list can teach you writing. A simple question can teach you courage. And one brave conversation can change the way you see yourself. Daniel once entered a store afraid to speak. Later, he entered stores looking for opportunities to speak. The place did not change. He changed. That is the most important message. Your English may feel weak today, but your future English can be stronger. Your confidence may be small today, but it can grow. Your mistakes may feel embarrassing today, but they can become memories of how far you have come. Keep practicing, keep listening, keep speaking, keep learning, and most importantly, keep using English in your real life. Because English is not only a subject to pass, it is a skill to use. It can help you communicate, study, work, travel, meet new people, and express yourself with confidence. Start small, but start today. Go shopping and speak 1 sentence. Tomorrow, speak 2. Next week, try a conversation. One day, you will look back and realize that the English you once feared has become the English you naturally use. And when that day comes, remember where you started, with 1 simple sentence, 1 ordinary shopping trip, and 1 decision to stop waiting for perfection. Your journey does not need to be perfect. It only needs to continue. So, take your next step, use your English, trust your progress, and turn everyday life into your classroom. Your confidence is waiting on the other side of the sentence you are brave enough to speak today.